Hi, I'm David Baker, and you're on Machination, Episode 2, and we're going to be talking about the COVID Micro Business Grant. Now, not sure if you're aware of this, but just coming through October, Service New South Wales stopped paying the micro grant to all those thousands of small businesses that had applied for it. So the newspaper yesterday, today's the 10th of November, so yesterday in the news, ABC, small businesses, sole traders and not-for-profits impacted by the lockdown have been relying on $1,500 fortnightly grant in New South Wales. However, many haven't been paid for a month now and have been told that they'll need to wait for another 2 weeks. Well, personally, I was told 4 weeks. The message on Service New South Wales phone line said 4 weeks, and that was at the end of October. So for me, roughly around the 15th, when we were expecting the next payment, we got the payment on the 6th, we were expecting the next payment. Everything worked, went through, even said sent, and come 5 days later, nothing. Now, this all happened at the same time that they started with the each week or fortnight, you had to basically said, yes, as a business, I haven't earned enough. I still need to continue. And like many businesses, you become fairly dependent on that because you're not earning enough money and you've got your own lease to pay and various other bills for your business. And if you're not earning anything, that can end up being quite a cost. Now, like many people, you ring Service New South Wales, I rang them and basically got told from them that, look, they've had a lot of new applications for the micro grant. And that had caused the system to fail paying. Now, I don't know about you, and I've had a bit to do with computerized systems, and usually once automated pays are in and accepted, they just go through. So to me, it sounds like things were stopped. However, I thought I'd leave that alone, and the story in the ABC then goes on talking about it, a taxi driver and the difficulties they had with that. So I thought, I'm going to sort of approach a few small businesses and polled out to a few and asked, are you experiencing this? And I got a response from some. And I got one here. They don't want their business named and they don't want themselves named, which is fair enough. I can understand that. But they came back and said, I'm a small business retail based in Sydney, and as per all small business owners, in the last 20 months or so, it's been very tough. Understood. I've been grateful for the government's financial support, but the recent delay in payments of the micro business grant couldn't have come at a worse time. And I think you find that for a lot of the businesses too, because as we're heading out of the current lockdown, you, as a business, you got to wind up, you got to start trying to sort of sell your business again, and that takes its own time. So this person has come back to me and sort of said, well, I run an e-commerce business, but at this time of year, being just prior to Christmas, obviously, every year I open up a bricks and mortar pop-up gift shop. This year I've had to invest in display furniture, pay rent in advance, and of course, buy stock in. Oh, that's a fair bit. I mean, for me as a business, it's more about marketing, advertising, and trying to get out in front of people, which takes 2 to 3 months, obviously, to work. So this is fairly scary stuff. Despite having emails from Service New South Wales saying that payments were initiated, nothing was forthcoming for weeks and weeks and weeks. I had nothing, no notification advising of the delay, and I assumed there was some kind of error and eventually messaged Service New South Wales. Service New South Wales told me the delay was due to many applications flooding in at the end of the grant duration. However, I'm unclear as to why that would affect money transfers that were already been initiated. You and me both. I'd like to add that the business grant program should be continued for at least another month. Couldn't agree more. Hospitality and personality service businesses may have enjoyed an uptick in patronage since the end of lockdown, but retail definitely has not picked up. And this could be because a lot of people are just used to purchasing online. I certainly am. Not that I've been doing it. I have now opened the pop-up shop and it is worryingly quiet. I've never known it to be so excruciatingly quiet in retail, to be honest. And I'd like to know how our new Premier, former Treasurer, plans to encourage retail spending pre-Christmas. I'd like to know that too. Hey, Dom, are you going to start telling us that, or are you just too busy getting out and shaking hands, as it seems what you want to be doing all the time? Like many businesses, I wasn't too happy because I've got things to pay and do as well. So I started emailing the Premier every day. You know, you get like that when you get no answers. That was forwarded on to Victor Dominelli, MP. And look, given Victor Dominelli, MP, did get back to me. I'll just pull up that email. And here's what Victor Dominelli, MP, had to say. Hi, David. Services New South Wales apologises for the delay in progressing some of the 2021 COVID-19 microbusiness grant payments. The grant payments were paused on Monday, the 1st of November. No, actually, Victor, sorry, they were paused weeks before that. They were well and truly paused by the 8th of November. Now, why are you telling me 1st of November? To enable additional analysis and assessment to be carried out in response to increased fraud activity. Okay, well, there's a ding, ding, ding bell ringer. I'm curious on that one. Recurring payments for existing applications have now resumed. Dated, what are we? This was Tuesday, so it's about the 3rd. Yeah, fair enough. 4th, 5th maybe. Has now resumed with 7,500 applicants processed overnight. And look, admittedly, yes, that now has happened, and admittedly, a number of businesses have been paid. Not all. I've run into a few that are still sort of waiting, obviously. But look, thanks, Victor, for getting back to me. I just personally would have appreciated a little more honesty in that email. Never to mind. And the reason I say that is because today, ABC's news, Service New South Wales calls in police to investigate fraudulent claims for COVID-19 business grants. So, okay, yes, he did mention the fraud, but we know it obviously started earlier. Police have been called in to hunt out fraudulent claims for COVID-19 businesses grants after thousands of people had their regular payments from Service New South Wales halted without notice. Without any form of notice and without anyone telling them why. So small businesses, sole traders and not-for-profit companies whose revenue fell by 30% or more during the lockdown qualified for a $1,500 fortnightly payment under the micro-business grant. Now, $1,500 is not much for a business, all right? It helps you pay the rent and get a few things in order, which is, I'm not going to complain about. That was something, considering that we were forced by the government to shut our businesses anyways. But Service New South Wales last month, and this is today's paper, today being the 10th, so last month, put the scheme on hold after more than $20 million of fraud was identified. We were forced to pause the 2021 COVID-19 micro business grant payments temporarily while the anomalies in some applications were investigated. And that's coming from the Chief Executive of Service New South Wales, Damon Rees. Nice to finally get the answer on the 10th of the 11th when I first rang up on the 10th of the 10th and started asking questions and got told nothing of that. And to be really honest with you, had I been told those things, it would have made a lot of sense to me and I wouldn't have got upset then. I wouldn't have started pestering the Premier, which was fun. You got to have some fun. So, look, I don't know, Service New South Wales, perhaps if you just get a little bit more honest and upfront with the people you're dealing with and stop acting like a government department and treating everyone else like they're sheeple. Well, I'm going to leave that alone. I got contacted by a lady called Annette, actually, running a business down on the south coast. And we had a bit of a chat, and I've got to say, very interesting. And we had a talk and went through all the problems their businesses had to go through in the last number of years. So let's cross over to Annette. Thanks for joining me, Annette. And hey, how's your day been?
Oh, it's very slow, very quiet today.
Annette, tell me a little bit about your business.
Our business is Jervis Bay Airport Express. We're a airport shuttle company. We operate from the New South Wales South Coast. Oh, hang on. I've lost you. There you are. I'm just trying to get this phone right. There we go. We're based at Huskisson. We predominantly pick up 80% of our customers come from the local area. We go down, we service an area from Ulladulla up to Wollongong. We pick passengers up all the way. It's a shared service, so that makes it nice and cheap because we have no public transport down here as it is. Say from Huskisson to the airport might cost you $100. So the idea of it is bums on seats, and that keeps it nice and cheap for everybody. Because even if you travelled from Huskisson to Bomaderry Railway Station, which is as far south as the train comes, it would still cost you $100 in a taxi.
And how long has your business been running for?
Well, we've had it for 10 years. The people prior to us had it for 10 years, and then there was a lady in the beginning that had it for about 10 years as well.
So how many people do you actually have currently working for you in your business?
There's my husband and I, and we have 8 drivers.
So look, going back before the pandemic, how well was your business going? Prior to fires and floods and COVID, we were a very profitable little business. Like my husband and I, we've not worked anywhere else other than within our business for the last, for 10 years. So, we've had 3 kids, we've paid our mortgage, we've had money in the bank. We've been, percentage-wise, I don't know, I couldn't tell you, probably $150,000 a year in our pockets. So then how was your business affected?
Yeah, December 19 it started with the fires, because when the roads are blocked you can't take anybody anywhere. And then we had the floods, so there was that, and that was in February, and I think it was my birthday actually, 13th of March, that COVID hit and shut everything down. So that was COVID 1, and then we started to come back. I think it was around about the September, but then once Queensland shut its borders, when we had the Northern Beaches outbreak, that's right.
Yeah.
So I think that was about the 18th of December. So then the Queensland border shut down, and that shut us down again. We were having to, give people refunds again. And then when did we go down again? Probably June, July, we started to go down again, I think.
Yeah, late June was the next lockdown.
Yeah.
So let's go back before COVID started. For JobKeeper, how many people did you need that for?
For the drivers who wanted it, because some of our drivers are pensioners, so they only do one day a week. So pensioners couldn't get JobKeeper. Because they already had had an income. But for the drivers who were eligible, yes, we certainly did get JobKeeper.
And as a business, how much help was JobKeeper?
Well, for us, I got onto the bank straight away. They had a great package that helped us with stopping all of our payments for 6 months, any payments. We still had leasing payments for our vehicles. We still had rental on our depot to be paid.
Hey, and did you have to pay your lease or your rent?
Yeah. Well, we paid 50% of the rent for that 6 months, but then we had to catch up with it. And by the time we caught up, we were back into COVID number 2.
How long after the first lockdown did it take for you to get back to, say, normal business?
Probably, well, I think we started taking bookings again in September, and by November we were going great guns. But then once the Northern Beaches come out, that just put a halt on it. Within a week it was gone again.
So, okay, in this last lockdown, how long did it take you to realise that there was a problem with Service New South Wales?
Yeah, I was about a week, and I rang and they said, no, they didn't tell me there was any problem. They said, no, you're being paid, everything's fine. So I only knew that there was a problem because you told me.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, look, for me, I pretty much realised within 5 days that it wasn't turning up as it said, and so I started the phone call. So 15th I got the message, 20th I made the first phone call. They then said, oh, look, it's taking a bit longer than normal. It's going to take 10 days this time. So, okay, thanks heaps for your help. Off I hopped and waited for 10 days. That was the Monday. Gave them a call back. No, look, it's taking a bit longer than we expected. So perhaps another 5 days. So I waited another 5 days. And by then I was getting a bit irritated, because by then I'm like looking at my next tick the box for the next one, going, well, I haven't even got the last one, and you asked me if I want the next one. So I rang them up and, but we should have it sorted fairly soon. And I really wasn't getting very many messages, and that's when I sort of got frustrated, got annoyed, and hopped on the Liberal New South Wales Premier's site, and then started, well, frankly, emailing him every day. What's happening? Why is Service New South Wales broken? Blah, blah, blah. And his Epping office. I think I got through 5 days of that, and finally started getting some answers back from them saying, sorry, we have handed it on to Victor Dominelli, and of course we went through that a bit earlier, and so forth. But look, in the end, my payment turned up yesterday. So like every business, I was struggling and waiting for it.
I must admit, I don't think the system with the New South Wales government was as good as the federal government. The federal government for COVID-1, when you got JobKeeper, they said it was coming every fortnight, and that's exactly what it did. It delivered, but the New South Wales one's a bit airy. Like, I've received a payment a couple of weeks ago, but I never got to confirm the next payment.
So you're not just getting this now for yourself, are you? Are you getting it also for some of your staff?
No, not now. With this year, with COVID-2, I call it. COVID-2, the federal government is looking after the employees, and the state government was supposed to look after the businesses. Well, I don't know what portion is supposed to go to the businesses, because as far as I can see, we're only getting $750 a week each. So I don't know which part's supposed to go to the business. That for us to pay all our bills, my husband and I are living on $500 a week, and everything else is going into the business. We sold our house earlier in the year to help pay a lot of the bills that we had from COVID-1 anyway. And we've been lucky enough that family have looked after us, and we've got accommodation for 12 months where we don't have to pay any rent.
Okay. So, look, if you don't mind me asking, was this something you had to do or something you chose to do?
I could see the writing on the wall that we probably needed to pay to help us. I knew there was going to be another COVID, and I knew that there wasn't going to be the help that we got in COVID-1.
And so, look, are you looking for another house, or are you going to be forced to rent?
No, we've bought land and we're building. But we have downsized. We've got a smaller house, but the money from the sale of that house has sort of kept the business afloat, because what you've received from the government has not been enough.
Do you think there's anything the government could have done more for you?
Well, that's exactly right. We we're all abiding by the rules that they're made. Like I can't pick up people from the international airport because the government's closed the Australian borders. The premiers of each state close their borders whenever they feel like it. So that those decisions all affect me. And then I have to give money back to people. I mean, in COVID-1, with the amount of refunds that we had to pay, the $10,000 that you're allowed to take out of your super, we had to do that to pay refunds, to pay back people their refund.
So that's really going to affect you later on, isn't it?
Like, I know the government had to react to COVID, but and close the borders to keep us all safe. I understand that. I mean, like, America's only just opened up their border after over 600 days. Theirs was the same, but I think more help is needed. Like, I think businesses need more help to get back out on our feet. I mean, if I hadn't have deferred all of our payments for 6 months, which has put us behind in stuff, and if we hadn't have sold our house, we wouldn't be here ready to open up again now. You know, our business would have been closed. We would have been left with more debt. And, 10 people would have lost their jobs. I'm 57. My husband's 61. Nobody's going to employ us. So... Yeah.
I'm turning 56, so I don't think anyone's going to employ me too quickly now either.
That's exactly right. Nobody's going to employ you. So, we've hung in there. But if we go down again, if we have COVID-3, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, tourism is, tourism is terrible. Like, we have a travel agent in town who I'm very good friends with. Their name's My Travel Expert. They are the number one office in the Hello World network in Australia. They have these two ladies, they're the same age as me. There's nothing that they don't know about travel. Now, they would turn over $6 million a year, and they were selling. They let out half of their shop and were selling gifts and candles and that, just so that they could pay their rent. Like, it's just heartbreaking, people. And the one thing I find is the person who has had their pay packet all the way through, gone to work or work from home, it's still got their pay packet all the way through. They have no comprehension of what it has done to businesses. Like, if you're a builder, if you're in the building game, well, the interest rates went down, there were grants for this and grants for that, and the building industry just went on. But tourism have got nothing. Like, I mean, $25 vouchers. Like, that's bugger all. That's bugger all.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
And you look at the travel agents, they have last year worked for nothing. Then they worked doubly hard to get all their clients back their money, who whinged and whined and complained and put everything on Facebook, But those people worked for $0 last year to make sure their clients all got their refunds back. And does anybody go to work for zero? Nobody. Nobody does that. But that's how conscientious they are and want to look after their clients, that they went to work for 12 months and all they did was process refunds for their customers.
So in your area, hey, how many businesses have you seen go down because of this?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But if you drive around the shops, you know, shops and stuff like that, we've got empty shops everywhere, everywhere. You know, but the help in COVID-1 was much more substantial and much more understood than COVID-2.
And do you think that's because you had a bit of a reserve to play with prior?
Well, we had nothing.
So coming out of the first lockdown, I know I had a lot of problems. It was, you know, basically had to get back in and sell to businesses, etc., etc. And literally it was just getting 3 contracts in place for some video production with a few businesses in the local area, just trying to get things sorted there, and bang, we went down into another lockdown. 3 contracts, wasted time, 2 months with no money coming in because they'd cut us off. So do you think it was worth doing lockdowns?
The first time I can understand, because nobody knew about COVID, and the whole idea was just to keep us all safe until they figured out a way out of it. The second time was brought into Sydney from a FedEx crew from India, right? Now, the driver who picked them up, picked up the FedEx crew from the airport, now he is a frontline worker, exactly like my drivers. My drivers actually know him. They all know each other from up at the airport. So my drivers had been wearing masks for ages. My drivers have all got themselves vaccinated. That was their choice. I just said to them, I can't guarantee you won't get sick, but, you know, you need to make a choice. The fellow who had the FedEx crew on his bus, he was not vaccinated. He did not wear a mask. And that man there, he is ground zero for the last 6 months. That's what he's done. And not many people know that, but he also worked for Ground Transport, which is one of the little subsidiaries of Sydney Airport. So why was that man on that bus, non-vaccinated, frontline worker, non-vaccinated, and not wearing a mask?
And do you think they should have come in with mandatory vaccinations?
I don't know if it should be mandatory, but that man knows that he is a frontline worker. He knows he's a frontline worker, and he's probably not been sick, but geez, he's caused a lot of problem.
Yeah, when you consider that we were being told by Service New South Wales that it's the amount of applications coming in that is stopping our pay, you know, versus the news story this morning, which is telling us that they're investigating fraud and they'd called the police in. It really makes you wonder. I'm not sure why they feel they had to start with whether you want to call it propaganda or whether you want to call it a lie. I'm not sure why they felt they needed to do that, why they couldn't just come up and say, look, investigating some fraud right from the very beginning. And I think, you know, any business would have been quite acceptance of that and saying, oh, look, you know, some people trying to do the wrong thing, that they've got to make sure, yeah, okay, understood. We'll wait. How long do you think? Yeah, a couple of weeks. Okay, looking into it, blah, blah, blah. I really think that would have been the better option to have come from Service New South Wales instead of what they actually did, i.e. don't tell you anything, just don't pay you. Because it's hard to plan for anything that, just rips it from under your feet. Whether if you've got a bit of warning, you can do stuff.
Yeah, no, well, you're not hearing about that on the news, are you?
Yeah.
And even you go back to COVID-1, you had the Harvey Normans and all of that putting their hand up for JobKeeper, where if you were in any part of building a house or redecorating your house or renovating your house or buying new furniture, that part of industry was flying. So the Harvey Normans or the Domains or the whatevers, they were the last people who needed JobKeeper. Yeah. And even now, it's a big business who's probably targeting that micro grant and stuffing it up for the people who really, really need it.
So do you think they should have been more concerned about small businesses as opposed to, the corporate businesses? I mean, let's face it, how many small businesses have gone down because of these lockdowns?
Well, a small business is responsible for 70% of employment in Australia. We need to be looked after. We need to be treated better than this.
Yeah, look, so I think this has ended up being a big advantage for the big corporations. A lot have been very, very profitable, compared to the hard work for small businesses. How do you think you're going to do heading out of this lockdown?
Well, I'm getting a lot more inquiry. We were doing exclusive transfers, but a lot of people don't want to pay that kind of money. It was easier COVID-1 to do exclusive transfers because you had JobKeeper, which subsidised your driver's wages, where with this one, we're not getting JobKeeper, so we have to charge extra again, which even the Australian Defence Force, who we take a lot of defence members up and back because we have 2 bases that are close to us, they don't even want to pay it. But we said to them, well, I broke it down for them, and I think if I have one person in a bus going up to Sydney and then coming back, it's a 7-hour round trip. We were probably making $60 clear and I broke it down for them and made them realise we weren't asking too much. But at the moment, I've got inquiry coming. I have a lot of people booked to travel on the 23rd of December, which is great.
Okay, so are you required to have the QR codes on the bus and ask every person if they're vaccinated or not?
Yeah, everybody. Well, when people book, we have an online booking system. So people, when they book online, they can upload their vaccination status. They, if they call me, I just say to them, take a photo of it and send it through to my mobile. So I'm screening all the passengers before they go on board. And the thing is that in the bus, you're a captive audience for 2.5 to 3 hours. So we have to make sure everybody's vaccinated and everybody has to wear a mask in the bus.
And do you know if they're stopping the masks soon?
No, I don't know. At the moment, I'm just keeping on doing it until they tell us we don't need to do it. But we've also had masks and hand sanitizers in our buses for about the last 5 years because we get people coming back from overseas and they come back and they're sick. And they sit in the bus and they cough, 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 cough. So, and everybody likes to sit behind the driver for some reason or other. So they sit behind him, he gets sick, so he has to have time off. He takes it home, he gives it all to his family. So after 6 weeks, him and his family are finally well, but, it's just not fair. So we've just made the rule that if you're not well, please put on a mask, wash your hand, use the sanitizer and sit up the back of the bus so that others don't get ill.
So do you think Australia has learnt anything out of this?
Well, I think so. I mean, it's just amazing that just some simple hand washing has eradicated anything else. I mean, you don't hear about any other sicknesses at the moment. You know, there's no common cold. There's nobody's had the flu.
Yeah, I'm hoping out of this that we do learn some things anyway, especially when it comes to trains in Sydney and cramming into the trains, going into the city and stuff. I really think we need to learn something there because, let's face it, how many colds and flus and now COVIDs is that going to create problems? So perhaps we need better trains.
I think you'll find that a lot of people, especially elderly people or people with underlying illnesses, I think you'll find that they will continue to wear masks for a long, long time.
I'm curious how, personally, how long people are going to continue wearing masks as we no longer need to wear them outdoors. And I still see about 50% of the people wearing them.
Down here, whenever we go out, we have a mask on. Like even I'm in where I am at the moment, I'm in one of the little suburbs of Sussex Inlet. And when I go into just Sussex Inlet to the supermarket, everybody in the street has got a mask on. Everybody. When we go over to Vincentia to the biggest shopping centre, everybody has a mask on. There's nobody not wearing masks. And we've been like that since early June, I think.
I am surprised, given in reality that wearing a mask outside seems pretty pointless, really. I mean, with social distancing, but I guess people feel safe.
Well, I mean, I think you've got to take a leaf out of the Asian countries. If you go to the airport and you see a plane of, say, Chinese or Japanese and that, they've always had masks on. Like even on the planes and stuff like that. I've been to Vietnam. Everybody wears a mask. They're all wearing a mask. So maybe they're already ahead of what we've just figured out.
I'm hoping people have learnt more about personal space, social distancing. I come from the country. I like my space.
Well, that's actually one of the reasons why we left Sydney. We moved down the south coast, and it was so we could let our kids run free. When we moved down here, we had a 6, 8 and a 10-year-old. We bought a place at Tomarong. We were on 3,000 square metres. You know, like my youngest used to come home. I always knew he was home because his backpack was out the front of the garage and he was off on his motorbike. You know, like they had that kind of a lifestyle growing up. And I think the best part was that they could roam free with their friends. They could go and see their friends. You know, like we used to have a lineup of kids at the gate who wanted to stay over. My kids were staying somewhere, or I was having somebody else's kids, especially in the school holidays. And I used to say to them, if you don't have your sleeping arrangements in by 5 o'clock, I'm not interested, you know, like, but, you know, and that's what it was like. I mean, and all the kids, they just roamed free. They had such a good time. It was such a good way to grow up. I'm so glad that we did that. And my kids will tell you they've had the best growing up because they weren't locked inside a little, 550 square metre block.
So is there anything else positive or negative that you would like to say about, say, the last couple of years?
I just hope that we don't have to go through what we've gone through for the last 2 years. I don't think we can do it again. I know there's a lot of businesses out there that won't be able to do it again. I don't think we'll be able to do it again. It's just a shame that this year the banks and lending houses were not as helpful as they were the year before. I think also the average person who has got their pay packet every week and their work routine hasn't been upset, I think they need to really have a good think and have some understanding of what it has been like for businesses. Like, you know, we all know that...
You were not talking about government workers, were you?
No, but even for us, like as I said to you, the $3,000 a fortnight has not been enough for us to live on and to keep things going with our business. But we couldn't go to Centrelink and get a top-up of any sort. They just said, no, you're getting that, so you don't need any money from us. And we've put so much money into our business from the sale of our house. I'm refusing to put any more money in. I'm not doing it anymore.
Look, I don't even think we should have been encouraged to take money out of our super. It's them that stopped us working. I would have been happy to continue working. I would have taken the risk personally, follow social distancing and stuff like that. But the government's the one that stopped us working, and yet they made us take it out of our super. That's
right. We had to find a way to solve the problems. So that's what we did. We spent $20,000 on paying back refunds. And you know why you do that? Because you've got this social media world that, I didn't get my money back from our shuttle bus business, so I'm going to put it on Facebook and I'm going to bag that company. Like any business needs that. Like nobody needs that negativity at the moment. We're all trying to think positive. Honestly, I feel like I've been living in limbo for the last 3 months. I'm sitting here. I sit here at my desk and I sit here every day, but the phone don't ring. And I just sit here with hoping. I've done a lot of advertising, Facebook advertising, and that to get the word out that we are still here. But once things open up, we've got to get Queensland and WA open, because they're big travel destinations from down here. Especially being a defence area, you have a lot of parents whose kids went into defence, but they're all stationed around the place. So they want to go and visit their kids and their grandkids and stuff. And especially a lot of single elderly ladies who all they want to do is get on the bus, because we provide a door-to-door service. We pick them up at their house and we drop them right in front of the terminal that they need to go to. Then we pick them up from the terminal when they come back and we take them back to their door. Most of the time, the drivers even open up the house for them and put their luggage inside for them. So, yeah, that's a great service, but we truly, truly need this back, and we need everybody to be one. We need to be Australia again. We have to stop the border closures. We have to stop thinking that one state is better than that state or this state. And, some states being Labor, some states being Liberal has a lot to do with it. But we have to put the politics aside, and we have to think what is the greater good for everybody in Australia. That's probably my biggest thing. We have to look after everybody.
Okay, so what's the name of the business?
Service Bay Airport Express.
And how do people get in contact with you?
You can Google it. Yeah, just Google Jervis Bay Airport Express. And we're on Facebook as well.
Thanks heaps, Annette. It's been great talking to you, and I hope everything goes well for your business.
And thank you. Thank you. As I said to you earlier, it was nice to find somebody who actually cared about a little business like mine on the South Coast and how bad we have been affected.
See you later.
Okay, thank you. You have a great afternoon.